Okay, I'm going to talk about Pool and Spa Magazine, one of the many jobs I had in accounting, one of the many companies I worked for. It's not around anymore. This is when everybody would buy, a lot more people were buying magazines and so on. This was a trade magazine. It was for the pool and spa industry, and I guess it was the magazine to get for information if you were in that business, pool and spas. It was located on one of the main streets in, I think it was next to Koreatown, like just a little west of Koreatown area. Like I don't know if it was on Wilshire, but it was in one of the main streets. And I interviewed there. Actually, it turns out I interviewed there twice. I actually went one time when I was working somewhere else, and I went for an interview there, and it took them too long to do an interview and stuff. So I ended up leaving. So I didn't get the job at that point. Somebody else did. It's probably a good thing I didn't get it then. And then later on, I came back another time, and they probably, I guess they forgot that I'd ever been there at all, my name or anything. So I went back and interviewed, and for the life of me, I can't really remember anybody's name there. It's like this is probably back like sometime in the mid '90s, somewhere in there. Um, and it was owned by a husband and wife. The husband was a lot older than her. They got married. She was like in her, I think 27 or something like that when they initially got married, and he was like 50 or something like that, or early 50s. And so this was many years later. So she was probably in her, at least in her 40s, maybe 50, something like that. And then her husband was, at least in his 70s, I think. So anyway, it was the once again, it's like when I went for the interview process, it took really too long. It was ridiculous because they had me a lot of different people. It's like they had the main people interviewing me that would give me the job, but they also had they wanted me to talk to like the heads of all of these different departments and stuff. And I don't know how many employees they had there, but it was probably like at least 40, maybe 50. That sounds like a lot for just a magazine, but they were doing financially, they were doing quite well. It was did well as a business. And it was like I don't remember exactly what the title was. Basically, it was the accounting manager, the finance director, or something like that. I had three staff accountants working for me. One that basically did payroll and I want to say payables, accounts payable, and then accounts receivable, and then somebody else. It's like I can't quite remember. Anyway, it's like the human resources person, who's I liked and everything. Apparently, they had redone the offices or had that new office and stuff, and the previous person, I guess she really did not like her at all. So when they were redoing things or putting in the offices and so on, designing the offices, she gave her a really tiny office. So I had this weird office. It's like they had the accounting clerks, and then I had this really tiny, weird shaped office that I worked out of. And then because there were other people who had lower positions, they were management, but they had lower management positions than me, than that particular, the finance director. It's like they had lower positions, but they had pretty nice offices. They had good sized, nice offices. so, but anyway, I figured I probably wasn't going to be there very long because of the management style. It's like they nitpick and micromanage people, and I'm going to have to do another video just on micromanagement styles and micromanagement. But which is bad, So if you have somebody competent, you don't micromanage them. You just kind of leave them alone. They know what they're doing. So anyway, I was working there, and I'm trying to think of some of the details. It's like I was um, they were the one main clerk I had ended up leaving, and I had to hire somebody else, and the wages were not really competitive. And I had a few people come in for interviews, and I almost had to beg this one guy to take the job, take the job, because he was the one that seemed most competent to do the job. And that particular, because he was doing payroll and other things, it's like it was kind of a heavy, there was a lot of work involved in that particular position. But he took it, and I kind of became friends with him. It's like, once again, I can't think of his name. He lived out in Orange County, I think, and so that was a long drive. Um, anyway, he was good, and one time I think, it's like one of the things I remember about the place is like one time the electricity went out, and everybody, it's like so we sat there, and it's like our computers weren't working and stuff, so. Nothing. It's like sat there for hours. It's like, why don't you just let everybody go home? It's like we don't know when the electricity's going to. And it turned out it's like they eventually let everybody go. They were nitpicky. It's like, oh, just do some stuff. We don't want you to leave, because it didn't actually ended up. We eventually left, but it didn't go on until later in the afternoon anyway. So, and then she expected you to come in on Saturday and stuff. She was kind of like that. It's like, well, you have to come in. I remember one of the people that worked there that was in charge of part of the magazine. She had kind of a tough job and stuff, and she also did not like the woman's management style either, because it's like she said it would take like an entire day of her time, precious time, to give a bunch of ridiculous reports and stuff to her. So anyway, I don't think that it's around anymore. I think there's a website, Pool and Spa website, but I don't know, Pool and Spa magazine website, but it's like, I don't know that that's still owned by them or anything. They may have sold it off or something before before it became like a magazine that people didn't really want anymore in the industry. One of the things I did do there, it's like that I remember really well, was I was well known for doing things like streamlining stuff. They had one incident, somebody, they forgot to bill them one bill, and because of that, she made it really difficult. She made it like this huge chunk of this one person's job to go through the magazine and just make sure everybody got billed, so they could get paid for that invoice and stuff, all because of that one small incident. And I ended up streamlining that, making it easier. I went to the guy that was in charge of the computer department. It's like, and I said, it's like, can you do something, put out labels or something, so she could just go through and stick the labels, like, just make sure they're all paid, and that made it a lot better for her. It cut down that project time by at least half of what it was. She was able to work on other things. So anyway, and then they hired, when I was there, they hired somebody for some kind of administrative job. It's like I was one of the people, because they want you to talk to all of them. It's like I remember talk to her and stuff. And then in the end, and I knew this was only a matter of time, because the previous person, got pushed out, and it's like, so I figured, it's like eventually they're gonna shit can me too. So, it's like at some point I was probably looking for a job, but they ended up it's like called me into the office, and it's like was criticizing things and stuff, and it's like, and I go, what do you want? You gonna fire me? Just fucking fire me, instead of like torturing me. That's just happened a couple of times in my career. It's like, don't fuck with me. Don't make me feel really bad. It's like you're already firing me, getting rid of me for no good reason, actually, in this case. And so it's like, if you don't want me working here, just say so. It's like, well, we need you to sign this. It's like, and it's like, okay, fine, just make sure I get my pay and my vacation pay and everything. It's like, but don't mess with me. It's like, it was totally unnecessary, and it's like somebody else after that got stuck with that job. So good luck with that. And it's like, and they're out of business anyway. So there you go. Come on, shut up.